Hey everybody, how are you? We're all fine. I'm Holly.
And I'm Carley.
We're just so glad that you guys are here with us. We're so excited because today we have another advice request that was sent to us, and we're super excited to answer your burning questions.
It's true. People are actually trusting us with problems that they have, which makes me feel very important.
It makes me feel. It does. It makes me feel as well.
Makes me feel. A feeling.
So I'm so excited. Today's topic is actually something that I hold very near and dear to my heart because it is actually something I struggle with daily. And that is imposter syndrome. Dun, dun, dun. If I can find music, I'm putting it in right there. Scary dun, dun, dun music. It's got to go in.
Imposter syndrome is like the needy friend that you never asked for and you don't really want to have around. But it's
Except
always there.
that it's in your head.
Right here. I think it's like right next to like bad decisions and like low self-esteem. They're all disconnected.
They're all neighbors in your brain.
Working together.
God. I'm hoping, Carly, that you have something really good for It Could Be Worse, because imposter syndrome just in general feels like awful 24/7. So make me feel better.
Okay. Well, yeah. And this is a little bit of a different vibe for It Could Be Worse. It's a little bit of a pick-me-up. It's not necessarily like, oh, that person is hilarious compared to where I'm at. So it's a little bit more wordy, but it is from Neil Gaiman. He's a writer, author, like really cool dude. It's actually from his blog, and people asked him for advice requests, and they were like, how do you handle imposter syndrome? And he was like, well, let me give you an anecdote. So he was invited to a gathering of great and good people, artists, scientists, discoverers of things, inventors, some of the greatest minds that there are. And the entire time he says that he felt that at any moment they would realize that I didn't qualify to be there among these people who had really done things. And it
Neil
was...
Gaiman said this?
Yes. That is how he was feeling the whole time he was there, that somebody was going to find him in this, right, just like we've all felt, someone was going to pick him out of the crowd and be like, what the fuck are you doing here?
This genius, this genius artist.
Right. Yeah. Him.
Okay,
yeah. He
great.
was like, oh, these people are smarter than me, better than me, do more than me. Why am I here? And so it was multiple nights that he was there. So on his second or third night, he ends up standing in the back of the hall, still riddled with imposter syndrome. People were performing, and he noticed that there was an elderly gentleman next to him, and they started talking and shared the fact that they had the same first name, and they thought that was really funny, and they were just kind of bantering back and forth. And the older gentleman, he pointed to the hall of people and said something to the effect of I just look at all these people and I think, what the heck am I doing here? They've made amazing things. I just went where I was sent. Neil Gaiman looked at him in awe and he said, yes, but you were the first man on the moon. I think that counts for something, because the elderly gentleman was Neil Armstrong.
Oh my God.
So
Neil Armstrong, man, I don't know what I'm doing here with all these people.
And Neil Gaiman says, I felt better after that, because if Neil Armstrong can look in a room full of people when his feet have touched a surface that no one else's in that room ever had, literally defied, not logic, but defied realm of possibility for thousands of years in our civilization. If he can feel like an imposter, maybe there isn't a grown-up that is grown-uppier than you are. Maybe there isn't a successful person that is successfuler than you are, because the man that walked on the moon is looking at a room full of people going, I am nothing compared to those around me.
Based on that story, I have our new t-shirt, which is, no one is grown-uppier than me.
Right. I am the grown-uppiest of grown-ups. I am. But I don't know if you had this, when you first had kids. My little one was probably about 6 months old, and we had a terrible rainstorm, terrible rainstorm. Our tree was banging into our window. There was lightning everywhere, and she got kind of startled and cried at one of the cracks of lightning. And I scooped her up and I was holding her. And all of a sudden, I had this oh shit moment that I was the adult in our home. I was the one that like she was going to turn to in those like scary moments or those hard moments. I was going to
Oh,
be the person she assumed
yeah.
had the answer. And I was like, oh God, like who decided that this was okay? Like I just wanted to scream out like I need an adult. Like I don't know what to do. And like of course I've overcome that a little bit, but like imposter syndrome can pop up anywhere at
Well,
any time.
and once we read this letter from one of our listeners, like there's a little bit more there, but kind of touching on the baby thing. One of the best advice that the best advice I ever got when I had kids was you are as old of a parent as they are a baby. So like your, 2-year-old, you're a 2-year-old parent. You would not get upset with your 2-year-old for doing 2-year-old stuff. Like, what do you mean you can't cook your own dinner? You wouldn't get upset with your 2-year-old. So you can't get upset with yourself
Mm.
for doing what a 2-year-old parent would do because you're still learning.
Yeah. You gave me that advice when I had a potato of a child. And I won't lie, it has helped me and it is a piece that I have passed on. And it wasn't even icky
Mhm.
unsolicited advice to like mommy.
I share it with every mom that I can talk to because I found that to be the most helpful thing I ever
100%.
heard. Because man, there is no place you feel more like an imposter than when you become a parent and
Right.
you're like, oh shit, nobody gave me a manual.
And there's a
Wah,
lot
wah.
out there, but they all
Yeah,
disagree
but
with each other.
well, well, let's look at our listener advice request for today. Here we go. This request is from Angelina in Colorado Springs. She says, I moved to Denver when I was 17 to escape homelessness and poor circumstances. Since then, I'm always battling this idea that everyone thinks I have it all together based on my life accomplishments. Imposter syndrome, anyone? Little does anyone know, I was also battling addiction, an extremely abusive relationship, and worst of all, myself. My constant need to one up my achievements makes it so hard to keep up with friends, and I constantly have this feeling of FOMO. I'm in a place in my life where all my friends from school are married with children, and I'm working on getting my master's. What does being successful even mean? And how do you help others while also carrying the weight of your own shiz on your back? First of all, Angelina, that you are kind of a rock star. So
100%.
just hearing that going from homelessness to getting your master's degree and whoa, wow.
Well, those circumstances, few people are able to find their way out of one of those, not all of those, and especially happening around or at the same time. Those are at times impossible circumstances. And to even function to get dressed in the morning while dealing with those things is a huge accomplishment. So being able to say, I was in this is huge already. Make sure that you are taking the time to sit with yourself and recognize everything you have done. Like, look back and then pat yourself on the back for every day that you have worked to get here is like number one. Like, you're a
Yeah.
hero to your own story.
Oh, yes. I know I've said this a million times is that if someone were to write a book about you, a book is only interesting when your hero, your heroine is having to overcome problem after problem after problem, and they still come out on the other side changed, but victorious.
Right.
And honestly, nobody wants to read a book where the person wakes up in the morning, everything's great, and
Right.
they go to bed at night. It's a real short book. And the best books become series where, gosh darn it, those people still are living and still running into challenges, and the series just keeps going. I think for Angelina in this comment is the idea of like everyone thinks she's got it together, even though she sees she's in it. So she sees the problems that nobody else sees.
100%, yeah.
And I think that just means you're human, and maybe the problems that you're seeing are certainly more, I mean, it's definitely not something that everyone deals with, but there are a lot of people who are going through it. And here you are as someone who is going through it or has gone through it and has still made it to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of what people are thinking is going on with you, fact of the matter is you're still going. You're still pushing. And
Yeah,
that's honestly like the most impressive thing of all of
100%.
it.
And like my ears curled over the words of all of my peers are getting married and having kids, and I'm getting my master's. And like the constant need to like one up your accomplishments is exhausting. And I recognize that. I've been there in my life. I know a lot of women are. A lot of women have the superwoman complex. And then because it's basically been gifted to us, we have to be everything all at once. We have to be a lady, but we have to be a freak. We have to be a mother, but we have to be a businesswoman. We have to be, in some instances, a wife, but we also have to be like alluring. It's constant. You have to be all things all the time. And then when you have lived without resource, or you have lived to always get more, or if I keep going, something better is going to come. And some of that is going to need a little bit of like sitting with oneself and prioritizing mental health and what is really going to fulfill you, because there's a difference between filling your schedule and fulfilling you. Like there's a huge
Oh,
difference.
I'm going to need you to repeat that because I think that just hit something really powerful in my soul.
So there is a big difference between filling your schedule and fulfilling yourself.
Oh
There's
my
a
God.
huge difference.
I feel really seen right now.
Mm,
That is somebody who
I'm
is
here.
a total workaholic.
Yeah.
I know when my mom passed, I had a little bit of time where I completely shut down. But then when I came out of that part of the grieving, I just started filling every moment with something,
Yep.
anything, because the busier I was, the more like it defined my self-worth.
Yep.
So the
Mhm.
more I was doing that, that made me important. Like that's what I was looking for.
Oh, yeah.
And, hearing this, like, oh my gosh, getting the master's and doing, I mean, that's amazing. But I know people who the fact that they're able to just get up every day and go to work, get up every day and they can do the dishes based on their circumstances, that's huge.
Oh,
I mean, that
100%.
is, Angelina asks, what defines success? It's different for everybody.
It is. And that's the scary part, right? That's the hard part. And that's why I say, like, you have to stop for a moment and you really need to work on inner self stuff. What is important to me? What is going to make me feel better? What is going to make me feel fulfilled? And another thing I will remind myself of, and my daughter, and every person that I love, your self worth is not a form of currency. It is not something that is raised by other people's perception of you. Your worth does not go
Mm-hmm.
up that way. Your self worth cannot be tied into how valuable you may or may not be for anyone else. Your self worth is something that you determine. So figure out your worth, add tax, and accept nothing less. There's no reason to have who you are be a sense of currency for others. Oh, well, I am all of these things to everyone else around me. Awesome. That's great. Be a helper, be a provider, be a nurturer, be just like a cool badass, be funny, but don't do it for the sake of others. Do it because that's who you are. And so if you are an overachiever, awesome. You're an overachiever. That is what works for you. But don't use it as a band-aid, and don't do it so that other people will think higher of you, because those people are not actually paying attention to you. And some people will use that because they only want to know what they can get out of you. So it
This is
has
a
to be for
really,
you.
that's a really tough line to walk in social media culture, especially.
So hard.
So many people are like cultivating that image on social media.
Mhm.
And so then we all get into that space of like, well, they're doing all of this. What am I doing with my
Mhm.
life? And then that also feeds into that imposter syndrome of, look at everyone else doing all this stuff. What have I done? I've
Oh,
told my daughter comparison is the thief of joy. The minute you are comparing yourself and your experiences to somebody else, all of a sudden, like it's never going to match up because there's always going to be something. And that's
mhm.
actually wonderful because that gives us all this, diverse personality and wonderful things all around us,
Oh,
ways to
yeah.
learn from others. But I know, so when I became a teacher, I had my theater degree, but I didn't have a teaching degree. And I had taught theater camps and things like that, but I had never been in a classroom. But I knew that this was something I kind of wanted to do. So I started by being a substitute teacher just to get into the classrooms. And then I found out about a alternative licensing program that would allow me to get my teaching license while I was teaching. But first I had to get a job. And I remember walking into interview for this teaching job, and I'm sitting out in the waiting room, and there's another candidate sitting next to me waiting to interview. And she just starts telling me about all of her degrees, all of the years she's taught, I was gobsmacked at how impressive this person was. I just was like, wow. And I'm sure she was dropping all of it to intimidate me. And it totally worked. 100% worked. And when it was my turn to walk in for the interview, I was I felt really small. And my thought was, what am I doing here?
Right.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And when I talk to them and I have to say, no idea. But gosh darn it, I'm a fast learner. I'm willing to try.
I'm really fun to be around.
I decided in that moment, like, I could sit there and just hand this other person the job and make the decision for these people, or I could show what I could offer instead of assuming what it was that they wanted.
Ooh. I like that. What I have to offer.
What's super cool, 16 years later, that's how long I had that job. And I think I did a pretty good job. But it was about just not making that choice for other people. And I think that's what we have to think about when it comes to imposter syndrome. When you walk into a room, you can't make that assumption of everyone's more impressive. Everyone knows more. I don't have what they're looking for. Right. You're not allowed to make that choice.
You're not. Nope. Because you never know what the other person wants, needs, expects, is thinking of you, like thinking of themselves. For all you know, the person that was interviewing you, that was the first time that they ever interviewed, and they had no idea what they were doing. Right. Like, you never know where anybody else is. And so, like, the definition of success is such a big question. One of my definitions of success is if I'm doing absolutely nothing, I am not panicked about anything, and I'm not bored. I am totally at peace with just being.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And few times in my life have I felt that. I mean, I am ADHD, so like being bored is not a thing. Like, I can stare at like a curtain for hours and be like, this is great. But just really being at peace and being okay with me. If I can sit in a room with my thoughts and feelings by myself, no matter what's in my bank account, no matter what's going on in my life, if I am okay with where I'm at and I've done no harm, then I'm being pretty successful.
100% agree with you. That's remarkable.
All you can take with you is yourself, man. That other lady that like you interviewed with, like, yeah, all of her degrees are going to be really pretty. And they're really intense, and she worked really fucking hard for them, and she's allowed to be really proud of those things. But her having those things doesn't take anything from you. And all of your friends getting married and, having babies, that doesn't take away from the fact that like you're killing it and you are an educated woman, which is something that we've all had to fight for as women. So it's not about like a jar of jelly beans where if one person has something, you don't get it. Like, everyone gets their own shit. And you put more jelly beans in, and you make room and make more jelly beans for generations past you. So, like, I guess my advice is going to be, like, stop being so hard on yourself. You are incredible. Like, there's no reason. Like, if you need someone to, like, bully you every day, I guess I can, like, take your lunch money. Or you could just be, like, nice to yourself and every once in a while.
I also appreciate that you do your analogies with food. I think it's important that every analogy that you do from this point on include food, because it really, like, somehow that really speaks to me. So your jelly beans analogy, I'm like, I get that. And it's so much more powerful than if you talked about pebbles.
Right.
I don't know, seashells. Like, somehow jelly beans, I'm like, I'm here for this.
Well, see, and I like that you picked up on that, because I said jelly beans on purpose, because there are gross jelly beans. So there are sometimes where you reach in there and you think you're pulling out a gem, and it's like one of the booger flavored ones.
Oh, God. Who does that? Who decided that was a good idea?
I don't know. Or like the buttered popcorn. Okay, that is a hill I will die on.
You shut your mouth. The buttered popcorn is actually pretty decent.
You like candy corn, don't you?
Not really.
I'm
kind of tastes like
surprised.
eating plastic.
The buttered popcorn. Okay, this is something we can talk about later. But like,
Oh my God. Listeners, you just witnessed a friendship dying.
like,
Just
I mean,
that quickly.
it's not dead, but like, I have questions. Like the buttered popcorn, that's gross. Like that's gross. Like that is, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. To me, it's like black licorice, circus peanut, candy corn, and buttered popcorn jelly beans. Like those are rude. Those are
Okay, I
rude.
was with you right up until the buttered popcorn jelly bean. Like everything. I mean, but if this is where we have to be
On
as
different
friends, like
islands. Yeah.
on this side of the line, I am learning. I can accept other people's views, even if I don't agree with them. So buttered popcorn,
I think
that's
I
our
can move
line.
past this. I think I can. I think I can move past this.
Okay. Thanks for
But
digging deep.
yeah, but like the vom, at least we agree, like on the booger one. Like sometimes you
Yeah.
reach in there and it's gross, and then but that doesn't mean the whole barrel is gross. That whole jar is gross. It was just that one time, and you can reach your hand back in and get more, or throw 5 in because now you're offering the world thing. I don't know.
This
Yeah.
is something I personally am really struggling with right now because I'm now in my third year of being a stay-at-home mom, which is a real major change for me. I've been working since I was 14. I was babysitting since I was 11, and I've just worked nonstop and super workaholic. And even as a quote unquote stay-at-home mom, I'm still teaching classes and a couple times a week and doing workshops and,
Right.
but for me, it's been really difficult to go, am I successful anymore? Because how I saw myself and how I saw my self-worth was inside that career spectrum.
Right.
And so I'm having to just sort of re-see things. And my husband is actually being very supportive and helpful with that, of just reminding me that what I am doing to like help my children and our family right now is the most successful that I could possibly be right now. Like I'm doing something really, really magical and helpful and supportive just on a different level.
Right.
But it's tough. Like I have other friends who are stay-at-home moms, and it's hard when people are like, so what do you do for a living? And you're like, I am my family's COO.
Right.
Is what I am.
Right.
Like,
Right. What is your employer like? Even filling out forms, even if there isn't somewhere to like give you like that little look, it's homemaker. Like that's
yes.
like the box that like you do. And I will say that like this is my first year that I am not earning income from my household or myself since I was like 13, and it is super hard. And there are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, it was easier. It was easier when I had my name on a paycheck too. Not because of
Right.
my husband or my treatment, but just because of like where I fit in the world. Even the word homemaker, I love that. And so like I'm reclaiming it. I'm a homemaker. I make my home a home, and I do all sorts of cool stuff. And I'm not just like darning socks and ironing things and like waiting by a front door. But you know what? If that's what fulfilled me, I would do the best damn job ever.
You'd be the
Like,
best darner of socks ever.
yeah.
No one would be more grown-up-ier than you.
No one. I would even try to make beef Wellington, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Like,
I'm suddenly feeling like I don't know you. Buttered
I'm not gonna
popcorn,
make a
jelly
beef
bean,
Wellington.
beef Wellington. I don't. Who am I doing this show with?
No, I'm not going to do any of that. Like, my husband is welcome that I cook dinner. You are welcome. There's a new trend that I'm really loving. It's on like the outskirts of social media, but it's like the one lady calls herself like the lazy stay-at-home mom, and she shows her kitchen with like a week's worth of dishes and stuff everywhere, and she'll like show you inside of like the gross cups that have just been like rotting on the counter. And she's like, yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and this is what I do, and the house will be clean after today, but I can tell you, me and my kids played in the backyard for 6 hours yesterday, and we this, that, and the other thing while she's like cleaning. And I just love how real she is, because like I don't have stuff rotting on my counter, but if I did, I would want to be proud about it. Like, I don't know, I like that. She's on the outskirts. You got to find her.
Well, that's what this all comes down to, is imposter syndrome really just comes from comparison. And if you stop looking at other people to define your worth and your value, then all of that goes away. It's all about what you can do. And that's what I would tell Angelina. That's what I would tell everybody right now.
Yep.
Just love on yourself. Now, am I going to leave here and 100% never feel imposter syndrome again? No, because that would be a giant lie. That would be a super lie. I will probably feel it tonight, later on. But I'm going to at least hold on to this. I'm going to try, which also brings us to our affirmation for this week. Ready? Our crowning moment is, I am worthy of investing in myself.
Mm-hmm.
I am worthy of investing in myself.
I love that. Because you get to decide your self-worth. You get to decide that. So invest in yourself. Make yourself millions of dollars in your brain noggin with all the love you give yourself. Might not be able to spend it at Target, but you can spend it with yourself.
I love that. We're way past, by the time everybody hears this, we're way past Valentine's Day, but we're recording on Valentine's Day. And that just, I'm feeling so much love from that right now. So
Love
thanks.
that. Ching,
Happy
ching.
Valentine's Day to you. If you guys haven't already, follow us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Give us a like, give us a review, share with others. Look for us on Instagram and Facebook at We're All Fine Podcast. We've got lots of fun things on there for you guys to check out every single week that you can put on your own social media, which would be great.
It's true. And remember, in life, don't be a follower. But on things like Spotify and Apple Music, be a follower. Be a follower. Just click that follow button.
Boop, boop. Thanks,
It'll be
Ben.
great.
That's awesome. So, as always, you guys have a great week. Love you.